that's just what I am. For bright lights and big cities, I do not care a damn. I live out in the country where few will come around. I find life's greatest pleasures farthest from town. I love to see the sun rise o'er the eastern slope. I love cattle grazing quietly and ponies on the lope. I love to hear the bugle of the bull elk when he sings. I love the great wide open and eagles on the wing. You can understand the life, and that's all right by me. For if you've never lived it, then you could never see the glory of a sunrise astride your favorite house, with the whole world at your fingers and God your only boss. I'm a lowly cowboy, that's just what I am. And like those who've gone before me, I hope to be a man that folks will think of kindly when once I've reached my death, and say he was a cowboy until his dying breath. Thank you. Nobody's leaving. That wasn't too bad. I'll have y'all know, y'all were guinea pigs. That's the first time I've ever done that in front of an audience. Did it to myself on the way up here in the pickup and kind of scared me, so I didn't know if I was going to do it here, but I appreciate the reception that it got. My name is Trey Allen, and up until about a year ago this time, I lived in the fair city of Hooker, Oklahoma. It's a location, not a vocation. But just before I come to this gathering last year, I got word that I had been the recipient, I guess you will, of a cow punching job located on a ranch called the Stirrup Ranch, 40 miles northeast of Canyon City, Colorado. And as I traveled around the Hooker area, letting people know that I was going to be going to Canyon City, Colorado, to go cowboy, I had a lot of folks express some concern, if you will. A lot of the conversations went something like this. You're going where to do what for how much? Boy, you must be a damn fool. Didn't you even learn basic math all them years you spent in school? Well, I never figured you as serious, never figured you to be so dense. You say you're going to follow what's in your heart, well, you sure ain't following good sense. Now, do you realize the sacrifices you're going to have to make by following this path that you choose? And dragging your wife and those poor girls along? Hell, that must be bordering abuse. Cowboying ain't no way to make a living. You said that yourself many times. But now you're talking about giving up all that you've got to go trailing some brutes through the pines? Now, you say that you've thought this thing through, but it sounds to me like you ain't thought at all. It's just my opinion, but I'm sure shared by many. You're just setting yourself up for a fall. To which I would reply, I didn't ask for opinions, for blessings, support, or congrats. You see, we've made up our minds and we're going to go, and I reckon that's the size of that. Now, boys, y'all have been good to me and mine, so don't get your dander up now, but the fact is a change is needed sometimes, and I promise I'll get us by somehow. And I know it ain't going to be no cakewalk. Hell, the sacrifices won't be made by the half. But I reckon it'll be worth it, and folks believe me when I say that it has. I reckon it'll be worth it some crisp mountain morning when I'm trailing some old cow and her calf. So you go ahead and call me a damn fool if you want. Partner, your words won't cut like a knife. And you're right. It ain't the best way to make a living. But it is a damn good way to make a life. I spent most of my life out on the plains where there's little grass and they grow mostly wheat. And I'm no scholar, but I do know this. Life's different at 9,000 feet. You see, the air's a lot thinner and colder, too. Boys, I mean cold, geez, oh, Pete. And the wind still blows just like it does on the plains. In fact, I think it starts there at 9,000 feet. Now the folks are all friendly, just like on the plains. They're all ready and willing to meet any new flatlander that may come along and try to tackle that 9,000 feet. The livestock, they seem to be hardier there. Like the rest, they still drink and eat, but it takes a special breed to run across the scale after battling the elements at 9,000 feet. And folks, there's sights to behold that I ain't seen before. I want to tell you of one that's sure neat. It seems with nothing more than a baseball mitt, you can catch falling stars at 9,000 feet. Now the horizon, it's sure a lot different too. Them pine-clad ridges just waiting to greet and then bid farewell to our old Saul as he slips past them at 9,000 feet. And folks, don't get me wrong, life was good on the plains. But I reckon it's a little more sweet now that we call home that little camp that sits about 9,000 feet. How many of you ever heard of Larry McWhorter? How many of you ever heard of Sonny Hancock? The cowboy poetry community, if you will, experienced a great loss in this last year in the passing of those two individuals. And so, since those guys were heroes to me, I want to share with you some of their poems that I really enjoy and do it in tribute to them. I'll start with a little poem that Larry McWhorter wrote called Cowboy Count Your Blessings. I want to preface that poem by this one that S. Omar Barker wrote entitled The Tie Fast Rule. It goes simply like this. Here's for all you tie fast hands this little rule that fits. Whatever you get your rope on, it's yours. Or else, you're its. Two waddies rode together, oh, the western half so great. 'Twas a buckaroo from Utah and a hand from the Lone Star State. Now, though they was raised different and friends they was the best, so of each other's tacking ways they often would make jest. Now, hot debates was often floored of grazer bits or spades, center fires, double rigs, leather straps, or braids. Now, each piece stands the test of time, and each serves a certain need, and each is worth its weight in gold, they finally both agreed. But all too often, as one might guess, and talk of right and wrong, was whether you should dally up, or if you should tie on. Says Utah, crazy fools like yourself are to be locked up in a cage. You take your raps and you, my friend, may see a ripe old age. Why, it's easy on the cattle and it's easy on your horse, and so it stands to reason to be easy on you, of course. Texas grinned. Now, Utah, that little spill was nice, but it don't do horse nor cow no good when you have to catch 'em twice. I've saved your twine a dozen times, all 60 feet of it, and you wasn't criticizing then, to that you must admit. Now, the far west has got big ranges, but they mount good crews. But then, To work one single baby calf takes twice as many men. Oh, you saved my twine, says Utah. I confess it's true, but I'd rather lose 100 ropes than go what you went through that day old Peaches blowed the cork. Wrapped you in the middle. Me and my old Trey Walden got your tense butt off the griddle, so cowboy, count your blessings what you didn't buy the farm. All you got out of that little scrape was that white cast there on yonder. Texas frowned. When you cut a man's line, you cut her off by the noose. Instead of one long, I've got two shorts, and neither's of much use. Now, true, my arm is broken. In 6 weeks, it'll mend. But I've still got all my God-give parts, and you can't say that, friend, 'cause I remember when we first met and I shook hands with you, I noticed that your right forepaw was short of the tore too. Now, you speak of counting blessings, and I think that's just fine. But I'll keep my horn knot in my rope, 'cause I can still count all of mine. Quite possibly one of the best cowboy poems ever written, in my opinion, is this little piece that Sonny Hancock entitled For Texas. Do we have anybody here from Texas today? You're not going to like this. But I want to preface this by saying I too was raised in Texas. And then I moved to Oklahoma, raised the IQ of both states. I'm gonna, now I don't know if I'm gonna do this one or not, because that don't look real promising running there. Somebody raises their hand on this side, somebody raises their hand on that side, and there's a fella right back there too, I believe. It was once that I was happy and my days were filled with cheer, and I ain't never been to Texas till the Navy brought me here. I'd heard songs about her beauty, pretty girls and big strong men, her oil wells and seashores, rolling plains laid end to end. But I know one thing for certain. Of this, there's no denying the guy that told you that stuff done a hell of a lot of lying. Because deep in the heart of Texas, there's sand in all we eat. The girls are all bow-legged and the boys all got flat feet. The centipedes wear cowboy boots and the rattlesnakes have spurs. The sand is hot and slimy and it's full of cockleburrs. But they sent us boys in blue down here to hell's own battered gate, out on this lonely desert to protect this damn state. No longer are we righteous. We drink, we fight, we curse. Do we care if we go to hell? Hell, it can't be any worse. Down here, the skies are bluer. And of course, the rain is wetter. This Texas state is really great. But there's 49 that's better. And I've got no one to blame but me. That's right, I've not forgot it. I ask for foreign duty, and I believe, by God, I got it. You know, I wasn't the first individual to give up civilization and head west and go to cowboying. Individual by the name of D.J. O'Malley penned this little poem about his particular excursion on such a soiree back probably 120 years ago now. Called it the D2 Horse Wrangler. One day I thought I'd have some fun and see how punching cows was done, so when the roundup had begun, I tackles a cattle king. Says he, my foreman, he's in town, he's up to McQueen, his name is Brown, go over and I think he'll take you down. Says I, that's just the thing. Well, we started for the ranch next day, and Brown, he talked most all the way. He said punching cows was only fun, that it was no work at all. That all I had to do was ride. It was just like rolling with the tide, and Jiminy, criminy, how he lied. He surely had his gall. You see, he put me in charge of his caviar, and he told me not to work too hard, that all I had to do was guard the horses from getting away. And I had 260 head, and oft times wished that I was dead, because when one got away, old Brown turned red. Now this is the truth, I say. Sometimes a horse would make a breaking across the prairie he'd take, just like he was running for a stake, and for him it was only play. Now sometimes I couldn't head him at all, and then sometimes my saddle horse would fall, but I'd speed on like a cannonball till the earth got in my way. Well, they led me out an old gray hack with a great big set fast on his back, patted him up with gunny sacks and used my bed and all. Now when I climbed on, he left the ground, jumped up in there and turned around, and I busted earth when I come down. Lord, it was a terrible fall. Well, they picked me up and they took me in, rubbed me down with a rolling pin. Now that's the way they all begin. You're doing well, says Brown. And tomorrow morning, if and you don't die, we'll give you another horse to try. Oh, won't you let me walk, said I. Yeah, back to town. Now I've traveled up, I've traveled down, I've traveled this country all around. I lived in city and I've lived in town, and I have this much to say. Before you try it, go kiss your wife. Get a heavy insurance upon your life, and then shoot yourself with a butcher knife. It's by far the easiest way.